All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Brand Builder TV. To say this episode is my jam is an understatement, and I'm gonna share with you, and you're gonna understand why that is. And if this guy looks familiar, that's because he's been on. This is, I think, the third or fourth time now, right? We've had you on. I'm all about the energy. Our energy connected from day one, and I love the insight that Vahan brings because it comes from the real world. It doesn't come from theory, right? It comes from the real world. So that's what I love. And it kept coming up about these morning routines. So we said, we got to do an episode on this. But the morning routine is absolutely my jam. And for the last 12 to 18 months, it's been an absolute game changer, so much that I'm actually going to do a full episode on what exactly I do and a deep dive into everything that I do. But we got Vahan on here. Oh, and we're also going to talk about the evening routines right? And it's about those systems and routines that really separate successful and unsuccessful people that I believe at the end of the day of what I've witnessed over these years I've been on this planet. So, Vahan, just introduce yourself real quick for people that don't know, and then we're going to jump right in.
Awesome. Thanks for having me again.
Yes.
I can get used to this. This is nice. I look forward to these. I really enjoy, like you said, energy-wise and otherwise, we have a lot of things in common. So I really enjoy these conversations. And from our last conversation, something came up of do we have any routines? Are there anything that we do regularly that help us keep us in top shape? And so here we are. And I look at, as an entrepreneur, you're like a sports car, high performance sports car. You got to go fast. You got to perform at a really high level. Mm-hmm. And for those who have sports cars, you know how much care goes into it. And you need to change the oil, you need to do this, and you need to do that. And so just as sports cars, we're those high performance machines, and we need to keep ourselves tuned. We have to keep them in top shape so that we can perform, and again, being in top shape or having a morning routine doesn't, guarantee that you're going to be a successful entrepreneur, but really puts you at an advantage where you are ready to tackle challenges from a better physical and psychological place and emotional place. For me, it's one of the things that no matter where you are as an entrepreneur, whether you're just starting, whether you haven't started yet, whether you're on top and have flipped a bunch of companies and doing it again, I think that's one of the constants that usually doesn't change, that you see really successful entrepreneurs have some kind of a system, and they all have different ones. And you and I will probably have some variations there will be some similarities and there'll be some differences. And we have different things that does it for us. Mm-hmm. But having some kind of a routine, I have found to be really important, especially at the beginning of the day, where usually, if you don't have that, how you start your day is the alarm rings, you maybe snooze it a couple of times, roll out of the bed and into the shower, or a cup of coffee or whatever, and then you're out and running and putting out fires and responding to emails and calls, and really just spending the rest of your day responding to stuff and reacting to stuff and doing, like, if you don't have your own kind of time to set an intention for the day, get into that right mindset, then the whole energy of the day, for me at least, becomes very hectic and becomes very unproductive. So we'll go through what we're doing. I'd love to hear what you're doing as well, and compare notes. And I've had these discussions with different people, and I've picked up a lot from them. And the practice I have right now is not practice I've always had, and probably not the one that I would continue to have. It changes. It goes through different stages.
It evolves.
Right? And as you evolve, and then you try something different. Like right now, I do some intermittent fasting. And so some of that morning routine of having protein shakes or, health shake or whatever, is a little different because I, skip breakfast sometimes or eat a little bit later.
That
and
window.
So I have a little bit of a window. And so, and there's times that I wasn't doing that. And there are times where I was just, instead of intermittent fasting, I would just fast 1 day a week, 24 hours, just, water. And so you experiment. And I think the best thing, again, I'm not a doctor and I'm not, here to give any kind of health or medical advice. What I would say is, especially if you have a condition or if you're taking any medication stuff, you need to be mindful of that and consult your physician, but really listen to your body. Listen to how it's responding. It tells you, you know what, you need a break, or you need to slow down, or you need to do this and you need to do that. And so, you take this, well, this didn't feel right, so try something else. Really being tuned in to this machine. And, entrepreneurship is not a sprint. It's a marathon. Right. And you have to look at how people prepare for marathons. They train and they know how much water they need to drink and how often, and they need to know what their speed is. And so they don't burn out too quickly and they don't go too slow and then they have to catch up, and so there is a whole strategy for running a marathon. This is a marathon. Entrepreneurship is a marathon. It's not, you could run real quick, fast and get to some kind of a point, but then if you hit that wall, where do you go from there? It just goes down. And so look at it as a marathon. And for a marathon, you need to nourish your mind, you nourish your body, you nourish your, from your thoughts to nutrition, to water, to sleep, to spiritual and connection and whatever, whatever kind of fills your cup up back again, your tank. And so these things have, no matter what kind of a business you're in, no matter if you're running a company or you're part of the team, you're a staff or one of the executives, showing up in the right mindset and kind of ready energetically and not kind of bringing in some of the stuff from the day before and, not any of the kind of the reactive mind to it, really serves not only you but the whole company.
Yeah,
so I'm excited.
I agree 1000%. And let me share with you a quote right on my wall here. Being an entrepreneur is neither a part-time or a full-time job. It's a lifestyle, right? And when we're talking about let's start there, since you started there, is the physical part, right? So when I had my sports nutrition store, people would come in all the time and go, oh, how do I lose weight? How do I get abs? How do I do this? How do I do that? How do I get bigger? How do I get stronger? And I used to say, it has to be a lifestyle change. If you use that dirty 4-letter word called diet, it's only temporary, right? So lifestyle change 1000%. So what does that mean? That simply means that, so I've been doing intermittent fasting between 16 and 18 hours. My sweet spot seems to be 17 hours. Okay.
Nice.
And
that's pretty good.
That's been an absolute game changer for me with my body weight, right? Yeah. My digestive system. And then for me, what works for me the most is 6 days a week, 95% keto carnivore. Okay. Mm-hmm. And that works for me, right? Yeah. That works for me on so many different levels because I am such a foodie, right? Mm-hmm. I've been brought up in the Italian, they can't give you enough to eat. They cannot give you enough to eat, right? So, and being brought up on the East Coast, I mean, it was, me and my dad watching the fights or something. Our snack was a pizza and some cheesesteaks after dinner. That we done after dinner, right? They were just snacks. So, understanding who you are, and again, reverse engineering that. I'm such a fan of that. And then what's going to work for you? So some people, it might be, when we're talking about the physical, more the physical, it might be the greens, right? It might be the vegan, right? It might be the vegetarian, or it might be a combination, or it might be this for now.
Yeah.
6 months later, right? So
Right.
it's being open to that evolution and but understand who you are. But let's jump right into what I believe is the meat and potatoes. And because I love branding, so this I actually named my morning routine called the Monster Momentum Morning. Because
Nice. I love that.
right
I
now,
love that. When you name something that, you know, it gives so much more kind of meaning and weight to it. It's not just something where
does.
you do.
You own
It's
it.
a thing now.
You own it.
It's your thing.
Right? It's your baby. So
Yeah.
the
Yeah. You've
Monster
named.
Momentum Morning, because what I've learned is when I step back and I look at life, it comes down to this. It's all about momentum. I look at life and I go, wait a minute. I wake up and I let the tide take me wherever it wants. I'm that buoy in the ocean. I don't know if it's going to take me this way or that way, because I'm waking up, I'm checking my emails, I'm putting out the fires, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and I'm doing this and for everyone else. And I forget about myself. That's still momentum. That just happens to be momentum in the wrong way, right? But you can start to now take control of that momentum. Wake up in the morning. So let me give you I'll give you the title, and I'm going to give you the floor. So Monster Momentum Morning.
Beautiful.
Now, we even go deeper. What does that mean? If I had to explain it, I'm a big fan of life is simple, not always easy, but the simpler you make it, the easier it becomes. Ask, align, allow. Now we go
Nice.
deeper.
I like that.
We go deeper. Ask, what does that really mean in layman's terms? And for the people that run from the spiritual world, right? They say all rainbows and unicorns, and this is all craziness, right? Let's talk about this. What does ask mean? Ask means you create clarity. What does clarity mean? That means empowerment. Let me ask you, Vahan, when you feel clear about any subject, how powerful does that make you feel? Or when you feel foggy, unsure, uncertain, how liberating does that make you feel, right? Next is ask, align, okay? What does that mean to me? That means, if we go deeper in that, inspired action. I'm aligning with what I'm asking for, right? Which now maps back to belief. So when you're taking that inspired action, the people and the circumstances start to come into your life. Now that creates belief. And one more over is ask, align, and allow. And this is the one that, I gotta work on, man. I work on this, right?
We all
stepping back and allowing, because we're the entrepreneurs, right? We're that alpha, we're that A-type personality. But allowing, what I've learned in the last 12 to 18 months is, what does that mean? That definition for me is expectation. And then what does that map to? Knowing. When you absolutely know, there's nothing more powerful than that. And to me, that maps to the ultimate, which is now you're flowing. Now you're in the flow. So that's my definition of Monster Momentum Morning.
I love it. I absolutely love the fact that you have a name for it and a whole kind of reasoning, and because people just kind of come up with, okay, I'm going to wake up and do this and do this and do this, but you've actually thought about the whole meaning behind it and what does that mean to you, and that makes you more committed to it, I think, and more, because like you said, it's your baby now.
But here's the thing, Vahan, you know this, right? If you can teach it, now you know it.
Yeah.
So I thought about this in a teaching way. How can I break this down for the spiritual world, right? And then for the practical numbers crunchers.
Yes. I love it. I love it. Amazing.
So give us that overview, man. You wake up, your alarm goes off. Now what?
Okay. So let's start. So a lot of times when people talk about morning routines, they start from, I wake up at whatever time, right? Mm-hmm. There's the 5 a.m. club, and there's, later and later and later. I think we have to take almost a step back from waking up, because for you, in order to wake up in a shape and a condition that you need to wake up, you need to have that proper sleep. And because you could go to sleep at 1 or 2 o'clock, get no quality sleep, and then get up at 5, and you could do all these routines, but you still, your body's not going to be rested if you don't have enough REM sleep or deep sleep, and so your body's not going to be recouped. So sooner or later, it's going to run out of juice and fuel. And so before even waking up, be mindful of how much sleep you're getting and the quality of the sleep. And there's a whole routine around sleep and creating that. And we'll circle back to it when we're talking about evening routines as well, because that's you really preparing. It's, morning routine is preparing for your day, and then the evening routine is preparing for that quality of sleep. So that, I just want to throw it in there, and then we'll go back and discuss it again. But in order for you to wake up, and you don't want to really, the ideal way to wake up is obviously wake up on your own. And most of us, including me, very often are sleep deprived. We sometimes find ourselves working a little bit later than we should, and doing things that keeps us up a little, later. And having some kind of a routine around bedtime also increases at least the chances of you getting quality of sleep. And one thing I'll before I get into kind of the actual routine is, I want to point out the fact that you need to be gentle and kind to yourself when you're doing these, because it's really easy to, sometimes you don't have time, and sometimes you skip things. And I have this routine, and I'm not always on top of it. And I've had days where I've skipped some of it, I've skipped most of it, I've skipped all of it. And there's days that, or weeks that I go on and I'm on it. And if you do skip it, it's don't make that bigger of a deal than it should be, because that makes it worse. It's like, oh man, I can't believe, and just kind of thinking about it and putting energy into it. It's like, can't believe I didn't meditate today, or I didn't go for a run today, or I slept an extra hour today. It's like, oh man, my whole day. And just be kind and be understanding, because
froze up a little bit. Can you hear me? Let's see if we get him back on. Let's see if we'll get him back on. So one of the things that he's talking about too is, again, going back to momentum, right? That momentum is going to happen whether you want it to or not, whether you're realizing it's happening or not. Momentum, right? It's just like the law of gravity. It's going to happen. But when you can start to now pre-pave that morning.
Oh, there you go.
You there?
You froze for a second. So
So did you. So I didn't know. Okay. Got you.
Where did you lose me?
So you were talking about waking up in the morning, right? Not beating yourself up if you happen to fall off yesterday.
Right. Yeah. Just be understanding. And as long as you're doing the best you can, there'll be times where you sleep up, or there'll be times where you're not able to do certain things certain way you'd like to do. Mm-hmm. And I think that should be part of your routine of being open to, well, you know what? Today, instead of 30 minutes, I'm going to do 20-minute meditation because I got to do this thing. I got this call or whatever. And that's okay. As long as you have this list and you try to stick with it the best you can. And then if there's certain things that don't work out for that particular day, they don't work out. It's okay. It's not the end of the day. It's a list that you put together, and just be understanding of yours, just like you would be understanding of someone else. We're often a lot more judgmental and a lot more demanding of ourselves than others.
Yes,
right?
we beat ourselves up.
Yeah. And that does no service to anyone, especially yourself. So set this routine up, try to stick to it, because as you correctly noted earlier, it's everything is about momentum, building one on top of each other, right? And again, let's say you started a meditation practice, right? And you start meditating for 15 days nonstop, right? And so you're building this momentum, and then one day you're not able to do it, and then you're like back to zero, like, oh my God, like I missed it. So now, I had this kind of thing going, and now it's okay. How about the fact that you started this and you went for 15 days? How about that? And how about that even just one day now of not doing it is a big deal, where you were not doing it at all for, all of the years before, and that was okay too. So just back on it and continue. And maybe that's another thing to meditate on how sometimes we're not perfect, and that's okay, right? And so just being understanding of this is just a routine, and it's designed to put you in a better mind and physical state, so that when something happens and it doesn't go perfectly by the plan, don't let that ruin the whole intention of why you even have it in the first place, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So wake up. For me, I'm not a morning person. Okay. I have a creative side, and so sometimes I find that at night, and sometimes I find myself drawing or doing stuff or doing actual kind of creative entrepreneurial work in the evenings when it's quiet and everyone's kind of asleep. And so I have to find that balance of when do I do some of that work, and then when do I also, because I also find mornings extremely productive, especially early in the mornings before things kind of start running, right?
Yep. That's
it's like sun's just coming out, and it's like a whole different energy to it.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so again, I have days where I go late, and then I have to make up, because I'd rather get that quality sleep and do a little bit less of my list, but have that rest, because that really does a lot. But generally, around 6 o'clock, 6:15, I'm up. And for me, because I'm back in college, I used to snooze.
Yeah.
Use the snooze button a lot. And for me, the rule is count to 3 and out before you start making excuses, and before you allow your kind of ego or whatever, start talking about, what, you've done a whole week of early mornings, or, you kind of went to bed a little late last night, or, you don't have a busy day today, so maybe you can do another. You will find give it time, it'll come up.
Yes.
So the key is just to get up. Okay. And they have some really cool alarms. I'm not a fan of this startling alarm where especially when you're in certain stage of your sleep, whether it's deep sleep or REM sleep or something, and then it kind of startles you up. Because we have those sleep cycles, and so there's certain sleep cycle alarms which kind of, based on your body movement and everything else, traces that and then gently wakes you up as you're completing that sleep cycle. And so that way you wake up refreshed, but there may be a difference of 10-15 minutes of, let's say you set it up for 6, it might be 10 minutes before 6 or 10 minutes after 6, so it's not an exact time, but it matches pretty well with your sleep cycle, and so that's more important. So keeping that in mind is a good thing. And they have apps, they have different alarms that work differently to track that. One of the things that I do to track both my movement and my sleep is this Aura Ring I have. And they have different ones. They have the fitness bands and all kinds of different ways you could track it. It doesn't matter which one. I just happen to like this one and be using this for a few years now. It tracks your steps, your heart rate, your even at sleep, your REM sleep, your deep sleep, your body temperature, your resting heart rate. I mean, there's a lot of data there. It's amazing how just this one ring just gives you so much wealth of information. And as you do things, you could check, say, you know what, I ate a little late last night, and I see I got almost no deep sleep, or I had some, coffee late afternoon, or, I don't drink coffee, but, whoever does, or, I had a drink in the evening and that kept me up a little more, whatever. And so it's nice to see, because sometimes when you sleep, you can't tell was the quality there or not? Was it, how much was it deep sleep, REM sleep? This does that, and it's pretty accurate. So have some kind of a device that maybe measures that, because then you could build your routine around it as well to maximize the benefits and the results you want. Okay?
It's like business, right? Knowing your numbers.
Yeah, No,
Right.
yeah, it's all about the numbers, right?
Right.
And then testing those numbers and
Yes.
and adding little things and saying,
Yep.
does this improve it? Does this not improve it? You know?
Yep. Yep.
And so yeah, it's all about that. The first thing I do when I wake up is when you're asleep, you lose a lot of water. A lot of it, from what I understand, is when you're breathing, from your breathing as well.
Yeah.
So you're pretty dehydrated when you wake up. You haven't, whether it's 7 hours or 8 hours of sleep you've gotten, you haven't drunk, any liquids. And I usually don't drink an hour, 2 hours before going to sleep as well. So I don't have to get up and go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. So I could kind of have an uninterrupted sleep. So, that could be like 10 hours of no water consumption. And so you're dehydrated. And so I prefer room temperature water. I usually squeeze a little bit of lemon in there just for a little flavor and a little, and it's makes the water more alkaline. And you have to keep, that's one thing that it's part of the morning routine, but it should be also part of your full day's routine of tracking how much water you drink. And drinking coffee doesn't count because that actually dehydrates you. Drinking certain things, tea,
caffeine. Yeah.
That's something, and if you need it, you drink, you drink it and do whatever you need to do. And like I'm a tea person, so I drink a few glasses of green tea in the mornings. And then sometimes in the evening, I might have a cup of, chamomile tea or mint tea or something without caffeine, because caffeine keeps me up. But my water intake is separate from that. And I just keep track of how much water I drink. And don't wait until you're thirsty to drink, because then if you're feeling thirsty, you're already dehydrated.
You're digging out that hole. Yes.
Right. Yes. So just keep, sipping. And instead of not drinking for a few hours and then just kind of chugging a whole big bottle, which is not good, it's just, throughout, every 15, 20 minutes, you have a couple of sips. And sometimes we also, like if people trying to lose weight or something, sometimes we mistake being thirsty from being hungry as well. And we'll reach out for something to eat where we're just really dehydrated and we need some liquids. And so I have a glass of water, sometimes two, depending on how it goes. Okay. And then right then, so I've done it one way or the other way as well. I either just sit for about 10 minutes and journal. That space when you're just waking up, but you're not completely awake yet, you're kind of one foot there and 1 foot here, is a really great space to kind of tap into whatever creativity and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's such a flow.
Yeah, you got that flow, and you don't have those things coming at you that you have during the day, and your mind's not preoccupied about issues and things to do, and so you're still, so your phone, by the way, during this routine, you don't want to check messages or text or any of that stuff until you're done with this whole flow. And so journaling is and it could be different things. Some people have gratitude notes or a page about what they feel grateful about, which kind of a nice way to start the day. It sets you up. They say you can be stressed, anxious, while you're at the same time feeling that grateful. It doesn't go together. And so depending on what you're dealing with, if you're gonna have a really stressful day coming up, or you're predicting, that might be a good way to do it. If there's issues that you're trying to resolve, for example, or problems that you trying to come up with answers for, a good way to do is to, before you go to sleep, write those questions out and then sleep on it. You know how they say sleep on it? Because your subconscious mind's constantly working, right? And looking for solutions that you might, and then when you wake up first thing in the morning, you still kind of tapped into that, and just write. And don't think and don't censor or edit yourself. Just let it come out and see what comes out. So it's either that or meditate first. And there's different ways of meditation. Obviously, there's different styles and kinds. And for one of the ones I really like is Mind Valley's Vishen Likiani's 6-phase meditation, where he walks you through it. I also sometimes just like to sit in silence. I right now I'm testing. I'm about 2 weeks into it, and it's going really well. It's an app called Wake Up or Waking Up, and it's Waking Up, and it's with Sam Harris. Very interesting. And so I'm on day 15 now, and so I'm doing his stuff. And so I think I find it, at least for me, helpful to switch up every so long. You just go for a couple of months a certain way, and then let me try this, let me try with music, let me try without music, let me try just sitting in silence, let me try guided, let me try specific intention of meditating on something, right? And then also the decision of how long you want to go for. I wish I could sit there for an hour or two and do that. I can't. And one of the things I was actually planning on doing to kind of break that, break me, is to do the 10-day silent meditation. And it was planned to do it in April, but this whole thing started with the lockdown. And
I'll recommend something if you want.
I would love that.
And the man that actually got me on this journey 2 years ago, Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Yeah, I do this. Actually, my daughter, I have an 8-year-old daughter. She falls asleep to his meditation
his guided meditation got me really on this whole journey. So anyway, yeah.
So I usually do between 15 to 20 minutes. This waking up one is 10 minutes. But then I have another one that I do later on in a day that's 15 minutes. Right now it's like a 21-day meditation challenge on abundance that I'm doing. I'm on day 12 right now. So again, trying different things and kind of experimenting. But usually, so after I wake up, glass of water, either just journal right away before you're like fully awake, or meditate. And then right as you're coming out of it, just without moving or doing anything else, grab the journal and do it, because you're still in kind of that state, right?
Yep.
And so once that's done, breathing. And you breathing while you're meditating, obviously, one of the things, for example, especially with Sam Harris's one that I'm doing, is a lot of it is focused on your breath coming in and coming out, and kind of just keeps your mind focused on that rather than having it wander like the monkey it is. And I've had an interesting journey with meditation. I used to meditate a long time ago for a while, and then I stopped, and then I found myself doing it again. And when I came back to it, I had a busier mind for some reason. And so, and I kept finding it wandering around, and I wasn't very understanding of it to myself. I was like, and so I had to come to grips to the fact that there's no right or wrong way of doing it. You just sit there and just, these things come and go, and you just do the best you can. And longer you do it, better. It's like a muscle. You get better at it. And I've had few sessions where I've gone for an hour, and those are really beneficial, obviously, because it takes your mind some time to come down and settle. And then that's where all the benefit comes on the back end of it. But even if you just do 10 minutes or 15 minutes, just to calm that down. So when you start your day, you're not already, having your mind kind of just, get pulled in 10 different places, but you're a lot more focused. You got that intention set. And so 5 minutes, whatever you can, some people, I was listening to an interview, I think it was Kyle Cease, and somebody asked, he goes, well, I don't have time to meditate. He goes, well, that's the very reason why you should meditate. If you don't have time for it, that just tells you that you need to. And because once you do, you realize there's a lot of things on your agenda that really don't need your attention or don't need your time. And you become more selective, and you become more focused, you get more productive. And so all of a sudden, that 20-minute investment creates a lot more time. It's a great ROI, speaking in terms of
the ultimate.
Yeah.
Right. It's the ultimate. It's what I call. when people ask me about my morning, why I do it every single morning is because to me, it's a quality of life.
Yeah.
It sets me up today for for my definition, what I consider quality of life for me.
And what a great, so I'm a single dad. I have an 8-year-old daughter, and she, well, 9-year-old now, she just turned 9. She was meditating since she was like 3 years old. 2 minute, 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, it went up to 5 minutes at some point. And so she did it for years. She did yoga and meditation, and then she stopped last year and a half. She's in school, and she's kind of, got other interests. And I kept suggesting that she should perhaps go back to that practice because, it'll make her better student, better friend, better whatever, and, she was, and meditation is not something you say, just go sit down and meditate. It has to come from her.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's interesting as it's like, how do I get her motivated? And, really the best way is if you, by example. Yeah. You see, and so I used to just go quietly and do it. And now I just go to her and I say, hey, I'm going to go and meditate for 15 minutes. So just in case you're wondering where I am, what I'm doing. And then about on the 5th or 6th day, as I go sit down to meditate, she, I think she's watching a movie or something. She puts it on pause. She comes, sits next to me. She's like, oh, I'm going to do it too. And then she starts doing it again. She does it shorter and then she leaves after a little while, and which is fine. It doesn't matter as long as it's some kind of a practice. But, it just know that having some of these practices, it not only helps you, but, family around you or friends, it might inspire them and it might help them adopt some kind of a healthy habit or something that will help them a lot. So you're doing it for you, but you're also doing it for people around you, and hopefully inspiring or motivating them to do it as well. And so the next thing is breathing. So, we need air and we need water, right, to survive, and air comes first. And I've discovered that as I was climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, where there's like less and less oxygen. It's like, because my water froze. So as it gets really cold. And so I had this water thing on the backpack, and it completely froze. I'm like, oh man, I'd still had, about a half a day, well, maybe a little less of climbing, about 10 hours of climbing. And so I'm like, oh, it's frozen, no water. So but then, you're out of breath. It's like, you know what, forget the water. I just need some oxygen. And so you start appreciating.
It's kind of important.
Yes, right? Exactly. And so, and most of the time when we're breathing very shallow. We're breathing from the top part of our chest instead of kind of taking deep breaths. And a lot of times that sends signals to our body that we're stressed or we're in kind of danger, because when you're stressed or we like that fight or flight instinct, you're breathing very shallow, right?
Yeah.
You need to because you need to start producing adrenaline and all that stuff, so you could be sharp and fast. When you're taking deep breaths, that indicates to your system that everything's safe and you're safe. Because if there's a lion coming, you're not going to be sitting there and taking deep breaths. You can go like that, right? And so deep breaths, it's kind of like in our DNA, we're programmed. Like it sends a signal, you're safe. There's no reason to stress.
Real quick, I believe that that's on a subconscious level why so many people connect smoking cigarettes with calming down, because they're forced to
take deep
breathe
breaths.
In, breathe out, right?
Yes.
The unfortunate part is they're just taking all the garbage in. But if you do that, one of the things I learned from Jack Canfield years ago was the 10-second breath. So you breathe in for 10 seconds, hold it for 10 seconds, and breathe out for 10 seconds. 5 of those, your whole body is just completely relaxed.
Yes, completely relaxed, full of oxygen. And sometimes we do certain breath works. You actually feel tingly. You feel energy.
Alive.
Alive.
Yes.
Right. So I do those, and there's again different techniques for breathing, right? And so that's Jack's. I love that one. It's like take it in, holding it, and then slowly taking it out. And so like cycles. And so you got some water in you, you got some oxygen in you, you fed your mind a little bit, and then so next thing is, again, I go back and forth on different things. I'd like to sweat. I like to kind of get my body moving. Now that we're in quarantine, I've just been going for runs, like a 60-minute run or 45-minute run, just be out of breath. I heard somebody say that throughout the day you should be three things. You should be grateful. You should feel three things. You should feel grateful, you should feel hungry, and you should feel out of breath. And so we need that. We need that exercise. We need, get your blood circulating. And so I always feel so much better when I do that. And then I have a little routine that I work out at home now, because I had to, there's no gym and we have limitations, but you still can get a good workout in. For me, not only just, so I have I'll show you. I have a list that I make, like a checklist for workout, like what I can do and the days. And same thing with my morning routine. And so the idea is to take out any thinking or any guessing or any decision making out of the process. Because you want to, as you wake up, you want the whole morning already planned out. So you're not even thinking about like, what should I do next? Should I do this? And for how long should I? Like, it's done. You've already thought about it. This is it. And so all you do is what's next? What's next? What's next? And you're not, because there's a theory of there's only so many decisions you can make throughout the day, and then you get that decision exhaustion after a while. And which is why a lot of successful people, for example, they wear always the same thing, so they don't want to use that decision making in selecting clothes or what they're going to eat.
And why people utilize personal trainers. They don't want to have to think. They just go in and told what to do, right? Get their workout in and leave.
That's it. That's it. So what you want is you want to take all the decision and thinking about it and figuring out of this whole formula. So for me, the way I do it is I just make the lists. And so it's just easy as checklists. You also see the progress, and you see the, building up the momentum. There's also the little things. For example, there's a book I read about. Is a military guy talking about how making your bed first thing in the morning when you wake up is so important. It's just this one constant thing that you could do that is not affected by anything going on outside world. So you have this thing, and you get that done. And I think this applies also at a bigger scale to the morning routine, especially in this kind of uncertain world where we have found ourselves in, where we don't know what's going on. We don't know when we're going to be let outside, and then what that outside is going to look like, and what our business is going to look like, what our life's going to look like, travel. So there's a lot of uncertainty. And so having this little piece of certainty of, I'm going to get up, for the next hour or 2 hours, I know exactly what's going on. I don't have to think about it. Doesn't matter, what's going on with the vaccines or the lockdown or quarantine. This is my morning. And it gives you a sense of certainty, which is a nice feeling to have in these times, right?
It does. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's important. With the workout, especially now as I get older, stretching is a big part of it. Really trying to stay flexible and stay, because it's so much easier as you get older to get injured. And so if you don't warm up, if you don't stretch, so part of the workout routine is stretching.
Beautiful.
I've got a bunch of stuff, but when I used to go to gym, I used to focus on certain things, kind of just like the biceps and the chest and stuff.
The beach muscles.
Yes. I found so much more important now, for me at least, to develop my core, and there's certain muscles and certain groups that serve you throughout. And especially with my lifestyle, I find a lot of times I'm in front of a computer or at a desk writing, or emailing or whatever, and it's like we're almost like training for wheelchairs.
Yes.
We're just sitting all the time.
Yes.
And so getting up, and so even stretching doesn't have to be just in the morning or throughout the day. As you're sitting, you find yourself sitting down. What I do is I set my alarm on my phone. I used to have it every 20 minutes, but then sometimes that would kind of disrupt me with doing stuff. So now it's between 30 minutes to 45 minutes. I set depending on the day, how busy it is. So it would ring. So I'll get up, and I would either, if I was in the office, I would get out of the office, go walk around the building once or twice, get a little sun, get a little air, get a little movement, and then go back in. And it makes you more productive, by the way. It's not a time waster.
So much more. That's the ROI. That's another one with the
that's another
huge ROI. Yeah.
So a lot of these things, as we're talking about, whether it's the physical fitness stuff or water and stuff, you do that in the morning, but you also want to do that and sprinkle that throughout your day as well.
Yes.
Right. Let's see. Journaling, walking, think about your day, setting an intention before you start your day. If, again, this is something I read somewhere where it said that if you don't have your own kind of agenda for the day, then somebody else will recruit you, to work on their agenda.
Set it for you.
Yeah,
right?
Set it for you.
Yeah.
And before you jump into the emails, because then what happens is you start tending to other people's emergencies and their priorities and their agendas. Is what's yours, and what's the intent. And again, for me, what's important is the momentum. So let's say, you have goals. You have a weekly goal, you have a monthly goal, you have an annual goal. And if you do at least one thing a day towards that goal, whether it's to do with your business or whether it's to do with a phone call, whether it's to do with or just sitting there and thinking about it and thinking, what does that look like, or visualizing, whatever. But setting an intention and then kind of having, not being, because it's so easy to do all this stuff and then just show up in the office and then, right before you even walk into your room, like, hey, this person called, hey, here's a fax, or here's, you got this, and you need to call this person, and this person is waiting for you in the waiting area. And all of a sudden, like, you're bombarded. And so what you want to do is have that kind of intention setting. So then you can prioritize and say, you know what, that could wait. I could call them after lunch, or I could call them at the end of the day. And you're really productive. At least I am very productive in the morning. And then the productivity goes down. And so I save some of the stuff that doesn't require too much brain power for later in the day. Where, if it's a phone call or something, I don't waste it on, that 2-3 hours in the morning of that prime, your brain is still fresh. You haven't made too many decisions and you're still, focused. Use it on something that really matters. Because then later on, it just gets watered down, and towards the end of the day, it just might as well just.
And that's okay. And that's okay.
That's fine. Yeah, exactly. It's and then again, and some people, this is also goes back to what we've keep bringing that back up of self-awareness of what works good for you. Do you, and sometimes people find themselves in the afternoon being very, very productive, right? And so, again, just pay attention, see how it's working for you. But generally, what I've found, not only for me, but also just for a lot of people, in the morning, they're a lot more productive. And so if you're more productive and you're more focused and you're more, you get more quality out of your brain power, then use it for good stuff, right?
Yes.
And so set an intention of what do you want to get out of that day. And not only it's interesting when I think about this, it's not only things that I want to get done, but also how I want to feel at the end of the day and throughout the day. And it's interesting because if you don't think about that, you walk in and, you start thinking about stuff, and then you find yourself a little slouched, a little this, a little that. And especially if you're running your company and you're like the chief emotional officer as well, walking in, people pay attention. It's like, oh, something wrong? Something wrong? Am I going to get paid at the end of this week? He looks
truth.
worried, or he looks depressed or something.
It's that toxic energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So be aware of and set an intention of how do I want to show up today? And then also how I want to feel and how I want to feel at the end of the day. And so it's not just to do, but to be kind of intention, right? And it's interesting when you do that, when you set that, as soon as you veer off and start feeling certain ways, like, oh, no, that's not the intention. And that could be different. It could be today as I'm energized. Today I'm just grateful and I'm just going to kind of take it in, and it could be different. It could be a combination of different things, and you kind of just play around, and it's interesting. It becomes almost like a game. I mean, and everything really should be a game. Yes. Everything should be playful, and you should just play, not take anything too seriously. From meditation to entrepreneur, it's all games, right? And we're just playing. And if you have that playful energy, when you look at kids and how playful they are and everything they do, we lose that. And that's something that's so important. And you see people who are really successful, their approach to entrepreneurship is almost like a game. They're just trying to figure out the rules and how to go around the rules and how to this and try different things and think outside of it. And so approach it as a game and then just kind of play with it and have fun,
Love that.
So setting an intention. And then this varies. Yeah. Generally, at that point after I work out, I jump in a shower. I've gone through different ways of doing this, cold and hot, or just taking a regular shower and then towards the end, just going into the cold and then coming out. You really feel alive. And it sucks. It's not fun. Right. It's not, and I live in Los Angeles. I can imagine people living, up north or in cold weather where it's miserable outside, and then taking that cold shower is, you don't want to take that away. It's just one nice, brutal, warm, good thing. You taking away that from them. But I've Wim Hof. I don't know if you've heard of him. So he's gotten more and more popular in the past few years, and he's got a special breathing method. It's interesting. I was doing this before I found out about him, just because there's a lot of literature about this and benefits, and I would do it for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then I would catch a cold. And I was like, because I usually don't catch colds. I was like, I don't know, like, is it from here? And then I would stop and then get better and then do it again, and then it happened again. And so I was just, like something wrong. And then I heard about Wim Hof and start kind of checking out. And it's like a whole routine of breathing and everything else that really prepares your body for it. And so if you're going to do that, look into whether it's Wim Hof or someone else's method of have a system. Don't just kind of go in and turn the cold shower and then if you start panicking and like breathing, you start producing cortisol and all. That's not the effect you're looking for. You have to be mentally prepared. Your body has to be prepared for it. And so you don't just do it just to do it. And then all of a sudden you're like, like having this reaction. That's not good. So you have to be, but it also really builds your mental toughness. And there, I'll admit it, there are days where I cut it short because it's just like, I don't, not today. Today's not the day. Right. And again, I try not to do those and not feel bad about it afterwards either. But I have those days where it's like, you know what, instead of doing that, I'm just going to do it at the end of the shower. And then, as I'm doing it, you're like, okay, that's enough. But even a little bit, if you do, it's good. One of the things I also do before taking a shower, not all the time, but often, is dry brushing. If you take a dry bristle brush, it really helps your circulation, and you kind of just brush it towards your heart. Yeah. Oh, okay. What else? So and so usually when I'm in a shower, I try to combine stuff just to be like efficiency, time management, and all that stuff. The entrepreneurial spirit. How can I use this time while I'm taking a shower? Yeah. And I actually find it helpful, especially when I'm doing the hot and cold shower, if I'm listening to something else, my mind is sometimes somewhere else. So I get, all of a sudden like, oh, I've been on this cold water for a minute and a half, and I'm okay.
Yeah.
Cause you're not,
Yep.
but so I listen to like something that feeds my brain. Whether it's, in the shower, I find it, just cause I'm a little distracted, nothing too deep or nothing too,
Yep.
I usually, when I go for a run, I listen to audiobooks or podcasts, right? Because then you're just there with it, and you can run, and you can just focus and listen to it, and that actually helps me run longer.
You get in that zone.
Yeah, you get in that zone, and all of a sudden, like, oh, it's been an hour already.
Yep.
And so, but when I'm in there, like just little YouTube things, whether it's, I don't know if you've heard of Bashar. I really like him.
Yeah.
Or Abraham Hicks, or something to kind of set your mindset the right way.
Yeah, like Abraham says, pre-pave.
Yes, exactly. And especially her, she has so many great videos and so much great content for free on YouTube. There's just really no excuse to
that's what I live on.
Have that playing in the background, at least just to
that's what I live
your
on.
brain, right? I love her. She's great. And so then, depending on if I'm doing intermittent fasting and what time it is and everything else, if I'm eating, I usually, if right now we're working from home, but if I have to go to work, I usually do a shake in the morning, and my shake has a bunch of stuff in it. And what I do is, again, to hack it and I'm a systems guy, like I try to develop a system, right?
Yeah.
And so it has so many things. So for me to make it every day and open each bottle, it'll take like 15 minutes to do it. And so what I do is I premix in little bottles of all the dry stuff. So I'll have like 15 or 20 of those, and they're in the fridge. And so besides some kind of a protein, usually vegan protein powder in there, or some kind of a protein powder, or some kind of a protein.
Yeah.
And then, anything from like cinnamon and cacao and turmeric and ginger and this ashwagandha and just a bunch of stuff in there that good for your brain, good for your heart, good for your all kinds of, just nourishment, just feeding the body. And
so the right, sports
exactly
car. The fuel.
Yes, sports, fuel.
Yes,
clean fuel.
Yeah.
Right. And so the dry stuff is in the fridge. So, and then I just take it out. Instead of using ice, I use iced berries. So I have, like blueberries and raspberries and stuff. So I put that in there. I also have sometimes small pieces of frozen banana just to bring a little sweetness, or I'll throw a date in there or something. Anyways, so just make and the formula changes also all the time. If I run out of, ashwagandha, and then I'll try maybe something else, or like I'm using one green thing in there, and then I run out of it now, and then I'm gonna, I'll try something else, and then as you read literature and everything else, it's like, I'll try this for now, and then I'll try that, and then so you don't want to just do the same thing all the time, and so that varies. It doesn't taste the best. It doesn't taste like a smoothie from Smoothie Place, because they put so much sugar and all that stuff. But you really get used to this. Like after a week, like when I first started, it's like, it tastes kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So I had to put like extra, extra date or something, just make it a little sweet. But now I'm like, I just drink it, and then it's like regular thing, and really keeps me full until lunchtime, past lunchtime, or sometimes that is my lunch. Again, people sometimes get carried away with shakes, because I think it's really important to also eat live food.
Yes.
Not just, like powders and all this stuff. Just that's what we're built, and you can't, whatever gets processed, you still lose certain things in there, right? And so I'm fortunate enough, I live close by my work, and that's by design. And this is also another important thing, is to design and hack your life to make it easier on you to be able to, whether if certain standard you want to keep yourself to, build your life around a certain way that doesn't make it difficult,
Makes
right?
it a
So
lifestyle. Yeah.
yeah, makes a lifestyle. It makes it easier to. So I, by design, like I don't want to drive in traffic, because for me that's like 45 minutes. Yeah, sure, I can listen to audiobooks and stuff, but I could also listen when I'm jogging, not stuck in traffic. And so in traffic, and then when I'm there, then I'm stuck with eating something around the restaurants, and after a while, you know, it's not always healthy. And so here I can walk back home, have healthy breakfast or lunch or snack or salad or something, and then walk back. And then I get a little bit of walk, a little bit of sunshine during the day as well. So again, try to plan, you know, if it's not living there, you know, maybe you prepare some of your lunches and take it with you, but make it, have a system. So you don't have to think every day, well, how am I going to figure this out today? It's like, okay, I have a system. So just one less thing to think about, one less thing to decide, so that you take that off your kind of plate, and this is done. And, you know, some people make meals for, you know, the rest of the week, or some people do whatever they do. You know, I enjoy chopping up stuff. So I do salads a lot. And for me, it's like almost like turning off for like 15 minutes, just, you know, doing stuff. Also a way to get my daughter involved in making food and, you know, touching food, not only just eating, but, you know, touching it and see how it's made, and having, she's not a big fan of salads, but as she sees how it's made and sometimes she starts tasting it, hopefully she'll develop that habit as well. Anyway, so I take the shake, and then again, what, depending on, and then I also have a vitamin and supplement, minerals and vitamin regimen. And again, people just kind of take stuff as, oh, this is good, I'll take it. Oh, I heard this is good. I think we're all unique and we all need different things. Our bodies need different things. So I think just taking stuff, oh, you know, iron, that's good. Maybe you have enough iron, maybe you don't need it. Or, you know, oh, everyone's deficient in vitamin D, so you should take, yeah, maybe it's probably true, but it's good to know how deficient are you and how much should you take. And so I do blood tests. Preferably every 6 months. My last one was around 6 months now. I don't know when I'll get around to doing next one. But so when they do full blood works, they'll let you know, it's like, hey, you're deficient in this. You might want to start taking this. And so I have a whole bunch that I'm taking. And there's some that usually are pretty universal, you know, like whether it's some kind of omegas or fish oils, or if you're vegetarian, some kind of omegas that you take that good for your brain, good for your joints, good, you know, vitamin D, most of us are, even in Los Angeles, weirdly enough, that we're deficient. So knowing what to supplement, you know, it's not instead of food, but yeah, you eat that, but there's some shortage, because, you know, our soils are not so rich anymore and they're depleted. And so your food doesn't have all that nutrition. And there's, you know, a lot of the food, even the organic stuff we get, sometimes it's not ripe. It's not ripe on the tree where it gets, you know, they pick it. So by the time it's transported, and so, you know, try to eat local, try to, you know, farmer's market and organic and all that stuff. Right. And so we know all that. But even if when you do all that, you may not get all the full nutrition you need. And so checking in with your body and checking in with, you know, through your blood and stuff, and see what you need I find it very helpful. Another thing that I think is helpful is to know your gut microbiome. I did a test recently with it, and kind of just figure out, because we're all so unique based on our background, where we grew up, what we grew up eating, and what we're, you know, the foods that we don't have the enzymes to break down. There are foods that are superfoods for us, and it'll be different for you and me. And so knowing, you know, and technology is amazing nowadays. You know, it's an app now, and so I can go in and say, okay, I should avoid these foods because they cause inflammation, and I don't have the enzyme, I don't digest very well. And then these are my superfoods. This I can eat a little bit. This I could, and I've noticed when I follow that, I feel a lot lighter, a lot better, because it just feels like it's aligned with what my body needs. You know,
Love it.
So yeah, and your gut is your second brain. You know,
it's, right? Yeah.
Yes, and it's interesting. I read somewhere where, or I was listening to an interview where, you know, how we always thought that, you know, our brain there's signals going in, and they've discovered that there may be more signals going in from your gut up than the other way around. And it really is like your main source of, decisions and certain things that run your body.
Feeling, right?
Yeah. And gut feeling. Yeah. Intuition and everything else. That's why we say they have a gut feeling. Exactly. So feeding, you want to feed your body, you want to feed your mind, you want to feed. So that all should be, again, throughout the day, sometimes if you can, some vitamins you don't want to take all at once. You want to kind of space it out. And some you take on empty stomach, some you take it with food, and some you take it in the evening. Some you don't, B complex, you don't want to take it in the evening. That usually gives you a little more energy. So you want to take that in the morning. So being aware of those as well. The great thing is all this information is out there and it's readily available, and you can read it and to know. And we're so blessed with that, just amount of, it's knowledge out there, free knowledge.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Like I've added, and then like for right now, because immunity is a big thing right now, as we're, want to protect ourselves, before considering vaccines and everything else, I think your first defense mechanism, the defense should be your immune system, where it's like, just you build that up and hopefully that will protect you. But so I have an extra stuff that I take that helps with my immune system. In fact I can grab it. It's right here. I'll tell you.
Yeah, and I believe the best immune booster we can have is a REM sleep state.
Is that?
I believe the most powerful immune booster we can have on a consistent basis is a REM sleep state. Getting in a REM sleep state.
Yeah.
That's the, to me, that's the, nature has equipped us with that, right? Yeah. If we can leverage it, right? I always leverage, right?
Yeah. And deep sleep as well, by the way. Deep sleep is very important as well. I mean, it restores your body. So I've just started taking some colostrum, liposomal colostrum. It's really good for your immune system. Pectipure, again, this is it's pectin, short chain pectin, and again, really good for your immune system. Fermented turmeric, again, I put turmeric into my foods as well and in my shakes, but also, just a little bit of, in a bottle.
Yeah. If anybody wants to read up on turmeric, I mean, it's a magic supplement. Yes.
There's a bunch of other stuff. So I'll because this is so unique for each person, I don't want to get into specifically mine, but just when you can get your blood works done and then see what you're deficient in, and whatever you cannot make up with food, supplement it. You just, again, you're a machine, and put the right fuel in there so it could run properly. And then as you, let's see what else is on my list. Breakfast. And I at that point, I usually have a list of things I want to accomplish besides the intention set the day before, the night before, in the evening. Because I don't want to go to bed thinking about it, all this stuff. So I kind of get it out of my mind and put it on paper.
That is,
and so, huge. Because I've found myself sometimes, like going to sleep, like, I got to get that too. And then if you don't just,
it takes the weight off. It literally takes the weight off. Yes.
So I kind of look at the list and say, okay, what are some of these things? And again, there's different strategies. There's the habits of most efficient people's kind of quadrant, where urgent and not urgent, important, not important. That's very helpful. I don't actually chart it out, but I kind of have that in mind. So when I'm putting it down, it's like, okay, this is where it needs a lot of my attention. This is where, and then figuring out what could be delegated, number one, because a lot of times, especially as entrepreneurs, we have this thing where we're irreplaceable, and if you want to get it done, do it yourself, all
Superman.
That crap, right? Superman. No, find the right people better than you, who could do better than you or know better than you, or will learn, and teach them, empower them, and let them take some of the stuff off your list, so you can kind of work on the business instead of just in the business. And so I look at it and say, okay, what can I delegate? What can wait? What's more important? What's my, again, ROI? Like, minimal effort will give the maximum result, right? And so, okay, so this, and this, that. And obviously, you know, since one of my businesses is a law firm and I represent entrepreneurs, their issues are my issues. You know, I look at myself as I am a partner in their business without owning shares or profits, but it's my business, because for me to continue to have clients, my job is to ensure that they're successful, they continue to grow, and they continue to scale and do well. That way they need me, they can afford me, and we all grow together. You know, and so again, putting the hat of not what's good for me, but what's good for the clients and what's best for them, and how do we help them, how do we solve this, and so a lot of that goes in, and usually that's where my mornings go. Strategy, solving problems, everything else. And then, okay, because of that, we need this A, B, or C. And then afternoon, once I figured out what needs to be done, it's easier to just get it done, right? And so that's what, for me, it's bigger problem solving and strategy work that gets done in the morning. I usually, and this routine changes sometimes depending on if I have my daughter with me or if she's with her mom. And so if she's with me, it's a shorter routine, because then she has to get up, whether I'm taking her to school or she's doing homeschooling right now. She has to get in front of a computer to get going, and then I might go and continue my routine. It's been easier that she's home now to do the full routine, but when she has to go to school, it gets, you know, I get up earlier and to get fuller days out of it. But it varies. And again, this goes back to what we're talking about, that, you know, just figure it out, what works best. So this shouldn't stress you out. The whole point of this is to make you feel good, not feel bad.
Yeah.
Right?
So I think one of the things that you're talking about too, that I want to underline for people, is flexibility is the power, right? That's the strength, because you can, I had to adjust my routine this morning because I had to be up in LA County at 9:30, right? I'm in San Diego, right? Yeah. So I had to, then when I got back, I finished, right? So the flexibility is everything. And that's why, especially entrepreneurs, if they could start to incorporate some of the things that we're sharing, some of the things that they're reading, some of the things that they're picking up, and evolve that for them, it's so natural, because for you to be a successful entrepreneur, you got to be flexible. Yeah. If not, you break. Yeah. You break. Yeah. So I think that's
and keep at it, because and you might find something that works for you now, and then in a month or 6 months or a year, you find it, you know, something different, you know. And so keep improving. Just like as an entrepreneur, your company, you need to innovate. You know, like one of the keys to success for a company is innovation. Not forced innovation, but innovating even when things are going great and you're doing really well. Part of your investment in your company, time, energy, resources, should be, how do we keep innovating? It's interesting. I was doing this program called Credentials of Readiness with Harvard Business School. Runs this program, and it's business analytics, financial accounting, and management economics. And the way they teach those courses is they take 3 businesses. One is a huge publicly traded company, which was Amazon. Second was like a mid-sized, kind of like Whole Foods, or like a chain of healthy supermarkets. And then one was a one-location studio, yoga studio. Real businesses, you know, the private businesses agreed to provide financials, you know, P&L and balance sheet, cash flow statement, and all that stuff, and then be interviewed and describe their systems. And so you're really learning how the small companies and medium companies and large companies are being run. And I remember one of the interviews was with the Amazon CTO, Chief Technical Officer. And, you know, this is a huge company, hugely successful, growing like no other company. And the way he was describing it and the level of innovation that they're still exercising, it was like a startup. Like every little thing you see on there is tested, double tested, and then after a couple of months tested and double tested again. You know, like the little clicker where it's like an arrow, it should be like just 2 lines, or should be a triangle, should be filled in with color, should be not filled in with color, and they test them, and even 1% difference in sales means millions of dollars. And so, and they have the luxury of testing it with testing. They constantly do that. And so it's so important for businesses to innovate, whether it's you're large or small, or you're a startup. And that approach should be in your personal life as well. You know, there's a saying, the way you do anything is the way you do everything. And so make that a habit of constantly, you know, like, how can I improve and make better? And even with this, the routines, okay, this is great. How can I make this a little better? And it might not be immediately. It's like, okay, I'm good for the next 3 months or 6 months. And then, okay, let me kind of change things around a little bit. Let me start working on this a little more. I need a little more time meditating because I found myself losing focus. Or I need to do a little more exercising because I don't get too much movement during the day. And so, you know, just kind of figure it out, and then hack your environment. You know, if I know I have a couple of phone calls to make, you know, just get up and walk around as you're talking, or do, you know, they have stand-up desks. They have, so there's things you could do to help you be more productive, yet at the same time kind of, you know, have a healthier lifestyle. So yeah, so 100% agree with that. So we discussed the morning routines, but again, winding down is just as important. Because we are entrepreneurs. We bring work home, whether if it's not in our briefcases, it's in our head, right? And it's like, what's going to happen tomorrow, and this meeting, and I need to start thinking about this, and, you know, markets, and, you know, disruptions and technology, you know, just, you know, even if you're not focusing on work, you're going through some, you know, you got, like, I get Peter Diamand's newsletter about, new technology, new, like, interesting stuff. And then, you know, as you read it, your work comes up, you know, like artificial intelligence, you know, is going to be disrupting every industry from law to manufacturing to everything. How is that going to affect me, you know? And looking forward, how do I make steps now and innovate so that I take advantage of that instead of being killed by it? And so having that kind of thing work 24/7 is not good. So you need to be able to turn it off. Right. And so again, having some kind of an evening routine that winds you down and kind of gets you ready for sleep and for REM and deep sleep cycles that are going to get you that rest is important, you know. And so again, I usually like to, just like I start my morning, to listen to something inspirational, motivational, educational, something where it's not business related, it's not work related, it's just kind of personal improvement, or learn about something, you know, whether it's, you know, I was listening to last week, Alison Armstrong. She's a relationship coach, and she's got some great books on relationships, you know, being single, an interesting topic for me to learn, and someone I've been familiar with a while ago. Jim Quick, who I've actually met a few times, is a brain guy, and how to, you know, he does certain things to keep your brain agile and working and all that stuff, isn't he? He's got programs. And you can find different things, like I'm on Mind Valley's, the Mind Valley has an app which has all these different programs. You want fitness, you want memory, you want, you know, food, nutrition, you want relationship, parenting. You know, I've listened to some parenting stuff. Shelley Lefko is a dear friend and a person I'm co-writing a book on, Entrepreneurship and Limits. She's also a parenting expert. And so listening to stuff like that, kind of just feeding your brain as well, of not just being about just the business. I usually, like if I'm making dinner or something, I'll put that on. I'm also, for example, I have a subscription to Master Class, which is this interviews of like some amazing people, from arts to education to business to marketing, just listening to them about how they build their company and and what the journey they've been in on, and so it's inspiring, it's educational, and it's interesting. And so I do that. I find that nice way to get back into this other mindset of learning and growing away from just business, but kind of working on me. I connect with some of the personal calls or personal people that I'll check in on my mom. And if I don't have my daughter at that point, maybe I'll reach out and have a quick FaceTime and say hi and see how she's doing. Just kind of some of that, because during the day as you're working, it's hard to do that and then get back to work. And each time, they say it takes like a long time if you're doing a task and then you get disrupted by a call or a text and then you answer, to get back again fully into it, it takes a long time. And so you want to be, as you're doing the work, to be uninterrupted. That personally for me, I find it challenging because I'm a multitasker by nature. Right. And again, they say there's no such thing as multitasking. You just kind of diluting your attention into a few different things. And so I make an effort of, okay, this is on silent, this is this, on this, so the next 30 minutes, I'm just going to work on this contract, or I'm going to, and this also goes into being present, and most of the time, as they say, if you're stressing, you're living in the future, and if you're kind of feeling down and sad, something is from the past, just being really just present of what do I need to do right now and what needs to be handled. And again, I go in and out of it. Again, it's a balance that as soon as you think you got it and you take your attention off of it, you're off.
Right. That's the human journey.
Yeah.
That's it. That's part of the journey. One of the things you talked about that I think is so important with all the information here is allowing yourself to step back and enjoy. Enjoy, make this enjoyable however you need to, so it becomes something that's not a chore, right? It becomes something, again, that's how it becomes incorporated in that lifestyle. And then what happens is you all of a sudden, here's when it's a lifestyle. When you do that morning that you can't do it or can't complete it and you actually miss it.
Right.
That's when
exactly
it's a lifestyle, right? And yes, identifying your self-awareness. So for Vahan, the zone could be running for a half hour to an hour. For me, the zone is, once I do my morning routine, is the actual gym. I love the pump, right? Yeah. From the weights. That's I get into my zone with that. So identifying some people it's yoga, right? Some people it's whatever that is. Identify that zone for you, but allow yourself to enjoy this, right?
Exactly.
That's the quality of life. That's why we're here. And it took me a long time to understand that. Same here.
It's because we evolve and we learn about ourselves. And, for me also, it's important to have some habits, hobbies, things that you like to do that are not just work related, and things that like I like to draw. I went to art school actually before law school. So I find it almost like a meditation. When I just do it, I kind of just get lost in it. And especially I do more pencil drawings and stuff. So I really get into it and find something, whether it's playing music or dancing or doing something where you enjoy, and there's some creativity to it. There's some stuff where it's not just business and numbers and all that stuff, right? It just makes you, gets your brain out of it. And I think it just makes you a better entrepreneur in general as well.
It feeds you. It feeds, right? That, and again, it keeps going back to that level of awareness. One of the things that was an aha moment for me with the whole morning routine is coming to the realization that, wait a minute, I've always thought that meditation was this, crossing my legs and going, right? And I wasn't connecting with that. And then I was beating myself. One of the biggest aha moments that created this as a lifestyle, Vahan, was coming to the realization and embracing the fact that there's multiple definitions of meditation. So I do emotion meditation, stretching meditation, writing meditation, reading meditation, and then I call it zone meditation, but it's the traditional meditation, right? I just don't cross my legs and do this. I just sit with a bandana on, lights off in the office. I sit up and I zone. I connect to my inner being, right? To myself. I think Dr. Joe Dispenza, I'm going to jack this up, but his definition of meditation is, knowing oneself. Knowing oneself, that knowing who, and then just creating that momentum, right? That positive pre-paving momentum, because when I don't do it, it's so interesting. Back in the day, I never thought that anything in the morning would trump the gym for me, right? That's my iron therapy, I would call it, right? My iron therapy. But once I started to open up to the multiple meditations, now that trumps the gym, right? The gym is secondary now to that. And because the gym is always been such a big part of my life, that will never go away. But I never would have thought that doing these meditations, my morning consists of this. So I go to bed, and one of the things that you talked about, and you termed it a different way, I term it this way. You were saying like habits and things. I call them understanding your non-negotiables. When you can understand your non-negotiables, now you have a framework not only for you but for other people, right? So mine is, I don't drink alcohol. It's just not part of my lifestyle. So I am typically in bed between 8 and 9 and up between 4 and 6 without an alarm. I haven't used an alarm and I can't remember, right? And so that's been then when I start to incorporate, so what I do is I get up in the morning, no alarm, and if I feel like I need another half hour, I will turn over, right? But most of the time I'm up.
You can do that. When it's 4 a.m., you can do that.
That's it. That's right. That's playing the curve.
Yes.
Right? That's like when I'm up at the box, the tee, right? I have to move my body and play that curve because I know
that's right. That's right.
Unbelievable hook, right?
That's right.
So anywhere between 4 and 6 is typically when I get up, 7 days a week, right? And I get up, feed my dog, go on. I call it my motion meditation. I go on to my treadmill. I only do a very light 10 minutes just to get the heart rate going. Get a real small little sweat, right? For 10 minutes. I listen to Abraham. That gets me set. Then I go in, put the pot of coffee on, go back out to my living room and do a full body 10 to 15 minute stretch. Full body, right? Then make my coffee, come into my office, and I do my zone meditation, which is traditional meditation, where all the lights are out, the blinds are down, it's dark as it can be, and I put my blindfold on, okay?
Nice.
And I sit, and I do 10, 15, 20 minutes. Here's been another aha moment for me, is embracing the fact that my mind's going to wander, and if I just chill, it comes back to center. If I beat myself up, I can't get that back to center.
Your
inner being's going, we don't go there. We don't go with you there, right? We're only one way. Our non-negotiable is center, right? So that was a huge aha moment for me. So I can literally stop my zone meditation in 8 minutes, or 25 minutes. I'm good.
Yeah.
Now here's the game changer for me, dude. This is it. This is if you ask me to pick one meditation, no, and I can only do one for the rest of my life, this is it. So I do motion meditation, stretching meditation, zone meditation, and also reading meditation, right?
Uh-huh.
But this is the game changer. The writing meditation for me, Vahan. So I do, and I have a whole system. I start with the I ams. So
Oh, nice.
who do I want to be? Who do I need to be? Who am I to show up today? So I have probably anywhere from like 20 to 25 I ams.
Beautiful.
That you want to talk, I got the chills.
Beautiful.
You want to talk about pre-paving and you're walking out of here with that big S on your chest, right?
Yeah.
Now you're ready. Now, and then what I do is now I take that momentum. Once I do the I ams, who am I? Who do I need to be to attract the right people, the right circumstances? Next is my personal brand. Dave Daley, the Monster Motivator, purpose, vision, goals. And I write them out. Next is my business, purpose, vision, goals, every single morning. And then, so this has just been my, and you ready?
That's awesome.
I write so much that I have to buy these in bulk on Amazon, the fillers. I have, right? Because I use certain pens. So, that, if you ask me to do one meditation for the rest of my life, it is writing meditation. Then when I end it, I end it with reading meditation, and I will do, this is the, if you ask me to go on an island for the rest of my life and I can only take one book, there is nothing else. Yeah. And you know what I do? So I buy these in bulk and I hand them out when I do keynotes.
Oh, that's
right?
great.
And here's what I tell them. I said, everybody get their book, and I go, raise them up, raise the book up. They raise it up. I go, I shouldn't be saying this because I'm going to be out of a job. I said, but if you read this and incorporated this, you would never need another personal development person ever. This is life 101 to me, right? So, and highlighted and everything.
Beautiful.
So what I do is I pull one. I just go like this, Vahan. I just open it wherever I go to. I read. It might be a sentence, it might be a paragraph, or it might be 2 pages. Once I feel it in my soul, I'm done. I'm done. That's it, right? That's it. And here's what I do in the mornings, because I listen to podcasts, but I do everything on YouTube because I love the visual as well. Mm-hmm. So you know what I do in the mornings? Because I listen to Abraham so much that when I wake up in the morning, all I do is I put it out the universe. Whatever first one comes up, that's what I'm supposed to listen to, right?
That's awesome.
And that's what I'm supposed to listen.
It doesn't matter because they're also. Yeah.
But here's what's interesting. It's always the perfect one. I'm like, this is absolutely amazing, right? When you let the universe do all the heavy lifting.
Yes.
It's absolutely phenomenal. But the writing meditation, and then if I go back to the night, one of the things and you mentioned this, and it takes all the weight off, is I do what's called my victory list. Okay. So I learned that from Jack Canfield. Instead of a punch list and crossing it off at the end of the day. So my 2 businesses, at the end of the day, I put a V for a victory instead of crossing off. So at night, I give myself that credit.
Nice.
And then whatever I didn't do, I bring back to the top, close that, and then get ready for bed. But the victory list, writing meditation, purpose, vision, goals every single morning with the IMs is like, again, Vahan, I say this over and over. This needs to be introduced in kindergarten. at that level, whatever that is, and evolution all the way through, because this is, to me, it's life 101.
Yeah. 100%. And I have my daughter journal as well in the evenings, and it's interesting. Sometimes she writes fun stuff, sometimes she writes deep stuff, sometimes she writes silly stuff, and it really doesn't matter. For me, it's just a habit of her putting her thoughts and whatever's on her mind on paper. And it's interesting. At first she was doing it, and she would have to, it's like, is this right? I'm like, oh, there's no right, or just, whatever you feel like, just put it down. And then sometimes I find myself trying to judge as well. It's like, and so you have to just really be open and just kind of let it roll out. But I think one of the reasons the writing meditation is, and I 100% agree with you, writing meditation is amazing. And I think one of the things that I really like about it is, especially when you're handwriting it, is there's something about kind of connection of your thinking and you're physically putting it on paper. I'm a visual person, so seeing it on paper really kind of does like that kind of a full loop, goes back in and out. And then when you're writing, it slows down your thinking because you have to put it on paper. You're thinking you could just, or you're speaking, you could go fast. When you're writing it down, you have to slow down the thinking so you could put it on paper. And I think that's very valuable as well. So even that process is, you just kind of almost enjoy it, and it's a physical and it's slow and it's just like, I get it. 100%. I'm with you.
It's so, and I learned going through marriage counseling back in the day, right? That I connect with, my DNA connects with motion meditation. So one of the things that I get so much thought, so many things going, ideas and things like that, creativity, and I'm in my zone, connecting to my inner self, is when I'm driving. See, I'm on the road a lot with my fire restoration business.
Yeah.
Like this morning, I had to be up in LA County. I love it. See, I get in my vehicle and I just start to think and flow. And then with the motion of the vehicle, the wind blowing, if I have, the truck that I take a lot on the road, it has a sunroof. It's that flow. And the other thing too, real quick, I want people, that I've at least worked for me, is connecting life with water. Here's what I mean by that. And for people that are out on the West Coast, I should say water. Okay. So I have some funny stories about that, right? When I first moved out here, I had people look at me, they didn't even know what I meant. Right? I believe that Bruce Lee said it correctly. You want to become water. So when that water is filled in that glass, it becomes that glass, right? It becomes that. And I think that's the other reason why when people say they love to be at the ocean, right? It's because life is the ebb and flow, just like the waves. And when you're in that shower and all of a sudden you go, I had the best idea. I believe subconsciously it's the flow. I do. I believe there's connections to water with life.
I agree. I'm a big water person as well, and nothing recharges me, whether it's a shower or ocean or a lake or a river or whatever it is. There's something about it. There's some kind of energy about it. There's something. Beautiful.
Yeah, I think it's a direct connection to life. So if you're gonna leave us with one thing before we wrap this up, just leave us with one golden nugget that you've learned from your morning routine.
I think for me, what morning routine has done is giving me a certain sense of or ability to feel like I don't want to say control. I don't like the word control, but in charge of my day. And it's when you start a certain way, it's easier to carry on that way for the rest of the day. Just being in charge, and not in charge in a way of this power trip or anything else, but in charge of your emotions, in charge of your intentions and your thoughts and your mindset, and in charge of your focus and where your attention goes. And so instead of being reactive, and instead of being affected by the outside and the circumstances, so it's like almost you creating this kind of your own consistent bubble where within that you can create whatever environment you want. So you want that Zen consistent connection and connection to yourself. It's really for you to go out there, and in any business, no matter what business you're in, you need to be connected to people, to your consumers, to your staff, to your employees, to your board, to whatever, right? If you're not connected to yourself, if there's a internal disconnect, you're really not going to, it's not going to be an authentic connection to others, because you're not going to be there as your whole self, because you're all disconnected. And so I think that exercise of just taking a minute, connecting and checking in with yourself and connecting and setting that intention of, this is who I am, and this is how I want to show up today, and this is what I want to, the value I want to bring into this day. It really makes it so much easier to carry on throughout the day and do what you want to do, rather than if you jump in and start reacting and then try to pull back and try to reconnect. It takes 10 times more effort. And so I think for me, it's that chance to have that me time, yeah, your staff needs you. Yeah, your clients need you. Yeah, your family needs you. But it's that whole oxygen yourself first, so that you can help everyone. And so this is that oxygen that helps you get yourself in a position where you could be helpful and do your service, whatever that service is. And I think, and it doesn't have to be a whole, because this could be overwhelming. Yep. And when I first started, just to clarify, it wasn't like I sat down and made 20 things, and right. It started with one thing. Yep. And then I just kept adding. Yep. And again, not every day I do all of it, and I'm not perfect, and I screw up, and I even fail at being very forgiving, because sometimes I'm like, oh man, I should have, yeah. And it's okay. Yeah. It is okay. Yes. And so just remembering and just taking a breath and saying, you know what, that's all right. I just having an opportunity to do that, and knowing that tomorrow morning I get a new shot. Yes. Tomorrow morning, I screwed up today. That's okay. Tomorrow morning, and let me see if I can do it tomorrow morning again. Yep. So I think knowing that you have a little time for yourself to reconnect, whether it's meditation, whether it's, like you said, yoga, whether it's stretching, whether it's for just a walk, whether it's your cup of coffee outside in your backyard, whether it's journaling, whether it's reading something, if you're religious, you might want, reading the Bible, you've been saying a prayer, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's just your time. Before you react to the outside world, if you just kind of nourish yourself, your spiritual and physical, and feed your body as well, water, air, oxygen, and some nutrition, so that then you show up. So for me, I think it's that it's putting yourself first at the beginning of the day, so that then you could put everybody else before you and serve them, because you'll burn out if you don't get enough sleep, if you don't get enough nutrition, if you don't get enough of that just downloading stuff, and just you're not going to last, and you're no good.
Your cup is full. For me, if I had to just give you a few gold nuggets, it would be two things. For me, this morning routine gave me a much clearer definition of what I consider my quality of life. And then also, it gave me an unbelievable understanding on the power of momentum. Yeah. So yes. I would say they're the two gifts, right, that life gave me by doing this, and that I get every single time that I do it, right? Whether it's part of it, all of it, whatever that is. They're the two, to me, they're the two gifts that just keep giving.
Yeah. And for your listeners who are thinking about starting a routine, don't think you have to come down, and just start with something. Yep. If it's just sitting quiet for 10 minutes, if it's writing for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, just going from doing nothing to doing something is a bigger jump than going from doing one thing to 20 things. Yep. Because all of a sudden you have this whole new practice, and you're being, certain way. And so just take that one step, and don't make it easy for you to do that. Don't keep saying, well, you know what, I can't do it this month because of quarantine and this, I'll do that. What can you do now? One little thing, and then maybe next day or next week, what can I add to it? Or can I do it a little bit longer? And then just build up, and then screw up. And then, and then that's okay. And then start again and have fun. Yes. And laugh about it. Yes. And then okay. And then start again. And so, but if you can start with anything, tiny little thing, it's amazing how one thing leads to the other. Like you said, building that little momentum, one baby step at a time. Then all of a sudden, like I keep going back to the climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, is like, as you start the day of the climb, you're looking at, they're pointing at where you're supposed to end up. And you look at it, it's like, there's no way we're going to end up there. And in this condition, and you can't breathe. And then you just focus, like, can I take one step right now? Can I take the next step? And then all of a sudden you're taking little steps. And 2-3 hours later, you're looking back, you can't see your base camp where you started that morning. And you feel like you're more than happy. And it's amazing. Just little steps make all the difference. You don't need to jump. You don't need to fly. You don't, just step at a time. Just like in business, but this is something that will help not only in your business, but in everything, everywhere.
Just the quality of life. Now, I want to thank you again for taking the time and sharing this real world wisdom, because that's why I was so excited for this episode, because I've learned now that it is life 101, right? It is preparing you for that day, for that week, for that month, and all of a sudden it just builds on it. So, man, thank you so much. And carte blanche, anytime that you want to talk about something, thank you. You know where to find me, right? Let's get on a show and bring some real world wisdom. So, guys, as always, feel free to jump on our YouTube, share it, subscribe, get it out there, and we will start chopping these up into little golden nuggets for our social media. Please jump on there, ask questions, connect. I'm excited, and he will be back. So
I will be back.
Fear not, he will be back. So
it has turned into a habit. So now I can't stop.
Love it, man. It's the energy, right? Yes. It's just the energy that you can't. It's either there or it's not. Yeah. Right. And again, the universe did all the heavy lifting. Who would have thought, right?
Who would have thought?
How this all happened, right?
Yes.
With Eric.
100%.
So awesome stuff. Your episodes are starting to really start dripping out now, as you can see.
I just saw one today, so I'm going to start sharing as well.
Feel free to glance it out to your audience. But guys, jump in there. Feel free, ask questions, interact, whatever you want to do, share it. This is for everybody, and hopefully you get some golden nuggets from it. And as always, we do it one way around here, and that's Monster Motivator style, baby.